Monday, April 6th, and we will be reading the book Wangari's Trees of Peace, a True Story from Africa. I chose this book because I found it online and I found a copy that you guys could follow along with. Wangari lives under an umbrella of green trees in the shadows of Mount Kenya in Africa. She watches the birds in the forest where she and her mother go to gather firewood for cooking. And she helps harvest the sweet potatoes, sugar cane, and maize from the rich soil. Wangari shines in school, and when she grows tall, like the trees in the forest, she wins a scholarship to study in America. 6 years later, her studies over, Wangari returns to her Kenya home to see a change. What has happened, she wonders. Where are the trees? Wangari sees women bent from hauling firewood miles and miles from home. She sees barren land where no crops grow. And where are the birds? Thousands of trees have been cut down to make room for buildings, but no one planted new trees to take their place. Will all of Kenya become a desert, she wonders as her tears fall. Wangari thinks about barren land. I can begin to replace some of the lost trees here in my own backyard, one tree at a time. She starts by planting 9 seedlings. Watching the seedlings take root, Wangari gives Wangari the idea to plant more, to start a farm for baby trees, a nursery. In an open space, she plants row after row of tiny trees. Next, Wangari convinces the village women that planting trees is a good thing. She gives each one a seedling. Our lives will be better when we have trees again. You'll see. We are planting the seeds of hope. The women spread out over their village, planting tiny trees in long rows, like a green belt stretching over the land. The government men laugh. Women can't do this, they say. It takes trained foresters to plant trees. The women ignore the laughter and keep planting. Wangari pays them a small amount for each seedling still living after 3 months, for the first earnings ever. Word travels like wind rustling through leaves about the green returning to Wangari's village. Soon other women in other villages and towns and cities in Kenya are planting long rows of seedlings too. But the cutting continues. Wangari stands tall as an oak to protect the old trees still remaining. We need a park more than we need an office tower. The government men disagree. Wangari blocks their way, so they hit her with clubs. They call her a troublemaker and put her in jail. And still she stands tall. Right is right, even if you're alone. But Wangari is not alone. Talk to the trees spread over all of Africa like ripples in Lake Victoria. More women hear the talk and plant even more seedlings in longer and longer rows. The seedlings take root and grow tall until there are over 30 million trees where there were none. The umbrella of green in Kenya returns. Women will walk tall, their backs straight. Now they can gather firewood closer to home. The land is no longer barren. Sweet potatoes, sugar cane, and maize grow again in the rich red earth. The whole world hears of Wangari's trees and of her army of women who planted them. And if you were to climb to the very top of Mount Kenya today, you would see millions of trees growing below you, and the green Wangari brought back to Africa. The end. Check back tomorrow to hear more about Wangari and her trees of peace. Hey, first grade. Now that we've finished reading our book, Wangari's Trees of Peace, we are going to talk about the central idea. So another word for central idea is the main idea. The central idea is what the text is mostly about. So when we think of the book Wangari's Trees of Peace, we want to ask ourselves the question, what did the author want me to get after reading this book? What did they want me to understand after I finished this book? And then once we have that main idea, we're going to come up with evidence or support for that central idea by thinking of details. So the details are smaller ideas that support the central idea. Something to help you remember this is to picture a ice cream sundae. The ice cream sundae is what the text is mostly about. It's the big idea, it's the big picture. The details that support it are like scoops of ice cream. They are each part of the sundae, and they each help to finish and make that sundae very good. So the details are the information that we add into the text that makes our book fun to read. So when I think about the central idea of Wangari's Trees of Peace, I think that Wangari made a difference by planting seedlings and giving people jobs. I believe that the author wanted me to understand this sentence after I finished reading the book. Wangari made a difference by planting seedlings and giving people jobs. So now I'm going to come up with support or evidence from the text by listing my details off of my web. The details I came up with are: she pays women to take care of plants. This is how she gave people jobs. She paid women to plant and take care of these plants. And that was part of the huge difference that she made in the world, is she gave people who didn't have jobs, jobs that not only helped them in their life, but also helped them to change Africa. Now, we know that this was such a big deal because the news spread to other countries. People were hearing about all the work she was doing and how she was bringing the green back to Africa by planting seedlings and giving people jobs. That was so exciting that people heard it around the world. The last detail I thought of that helps me to understand this central idea is she protects the trees. Wangari made such a difference because she stood up for what she believed in when other people didn't think she should. She was standing alone for a while, but then once people realized what she was doing and the impact that it had, people started standing with her. The mission that I have for you guys is I want you to come up with at least 2 more details that support this central message. So I want you to think back to the book. Think back about the different parts of the book and what you could use as evidence to support the idea that Wangari made a difference by planting seedlings and giving people jobs. Once you have thought of those ideas, write them down in your journal and be sure to upload a photo to Portfolio so I can see all of your hard work. Bye, first grade.